Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Washington quarter value coins, exploring their iconic design, hidden treasures, and shocking history as we reveal some of the most valuable and ultra-rare U.S. quarters collectors are searching for. The coins featured in this video include 1995 Washington Quarter, P Mint, Philadelphia. 2003 Alabama State Quarter, P Mint, Philadelphia. 2003 Missouri State Quarter, D Mint, Denver. These quarters are struck in copper-nickel-clad composition. The earlier coins feature the classic Washington quarter design, while the 2003 coins belong to the famous 50 State Quarters program, one of the most popular coin series in U.S. history. At first glance, these coins may look dirty, worn, and heavily circulated, just ordinary pocket change used in everyday transactions. But don't be fooled. Certain rare mint errors, varieties, and high-grade condition examples have turned some of these seemingly common quarters into collector treasures worth thousands, and in rare cases, even more, dollars today. Money bag. So before you spend that old quarter sitting in your pocket or coin jar, stick around, because you might be holding a hidden fortune in your hands. Backhand index pointing right first up. Coin number 1. The coin you're holding might look like nothing more than an ordinary quarter. Just 25 cents. A coin people drop into vending machines, parking meters, or forget in a jar on the kitchen table. But sometimes, a simple coin hides a deeper story. And the 1995 P Washington Quarter is one of those coins that quietly traveled through millions of hands while carrying a fascinating history of American minting. Many of these quarters spent decades moving through pockets, cash registers, and coin jars. They became scratched, dull, and worn. Yet even in that rough condition, they remain tiny pieces of history from the mid-1990s in the United States. To understand why this coin captures the attention of collectors today, we have to go back to the long tradition of the United States Mint. For generations, this institution has produced the coins that power everyday commerce in the United States. Among the most recognizable designs they ever produced is the Washington Quarter, a coin that first appeared in 1932 to honor the legacy of George Washington, the first president of the nation. By the time the year 1995 arrived, the Washington Quarter had already been circulating for more than 60 years. Its design was familiar to nearly every American. On the front, the calm profile of George Washington faces left, a symbol of leadership and the founding of a nation. On the reverse side during that era, the powerful eagle spreads its wings proudly, clutching arrows and olive branches, a symbol of both strength and peace. That classic eagle design remained a defining feature of the quarter until the famous state quarter program began years later. The 1995 version with the P Mint mark was produced in the busy minting facilities of Philadelphia Mint. For many decades, the Philadelphia Mint did not even use mint marks, but by the late 20th century, the small letter P began appearing on many coins. That tiny letter quietly tells the story of where the coin was born, inside massive minting presses that strike thousands of coins every minute. Like most modern quarters of that time, the 1995 P Washington Quarter was made from a copper-nickel-clad composition. At its core lies pure copper, while the outer layers contain a blend of copper and nickel. This layered construction gives the coin durability and its familiar silver-colored appearance. Even after decades of circulation, many of these coins still show their strong structure, though the surfaces may appear dull, scratched, or heavily worn from years of use. Most of these quarters were never meant to be rare treasures. Millions were produced and sent out into everyday life, grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines, laundromats. People used them without a second thought. They paid for bus rides, arcade games, and small purchases. In that sense, the 1995 P Quarter is a silent witness to everyday American life during the mid-1990s. But collectors often look beyond the surface of a coin. Sometimes the fascination comes from small details, subtle minting variations, unusual wear patterns, or rare striking errors that occur during production. These unusual versions can transform a common coin into something far more interesting in the world of coin collecting. A small difference that most people would never notice might cause collectors to examine the coin more closely under bright lights or magnifying lenses. Because of this, even a heavily circulated quarter can become part of the conversation among hobbyists and collectors. They study the details carefully: the clarity of the eagle's feathers, the sharpness of the lettering, the presence of unusual marks or doubling in the design. Each coin becomes a puzzle, a small mystery waiting to be examined. What makes coins like the 1995 P. Washington quarter fascinating is not only their potential value but their journey. Imagine how many hands a single coin may have passed through in 30 years. It may have traveled across cities and states, been dropped in jars, forgotten in drawers, or rediscovered years later during a simple search through pocket change. Every scratch and mark tells part of that silent journey. For collectors, that journey matters. Coins are more than money, they are pieces of history that move through time. A coin minted in 1995 carries the memory of that year, the economy, the people, the everyday transactions that kept the country moving. Even the most worn coin still represents a tiny artifact from that moment in time. Today, many collectors enjoy searching through old change, coin rolls, or jars of saved coins hoping to discover something unusual. Sometimes they find coins with striking errors or unusual features that make them stand out from the rest. Other times they simply appreciate the historical connection each coin provides. So the next time you see an old quarter resting in a drawer or mixed into your spare change, take a moment to look at it closely. The coin might seem ordinary at first glance. Just another quarter among millions. But behind that small piece of metal lies a story of American history, craftsmanship, and circulation that has lasted for decades. And that is the quiet beauty of coins like the 1995 P. Washington quarter. A simple object. A familiar design. Yet a small traveler through time, waiting for someone to notice the story it carries. At first glance, the coin in your hand may look like nothing more than a simple quarter. Just 25 cents. A coin people spend every day without thinking twice. But sometimes a coin carries a story far bigger than its value. And the 2003 P. Alabama State Quarter is one of those coins that quietly holds a powerful piece of American history inside its design. Millions of these quarters traveled through pockets, stores, and coin jars across the country. Many of them became scratched, dull, and worn with time. Yet behind that worn metal lies a story that collectors and history lovers continue to find fascinating. To understand this coin, we have to return to one of the most famous coin programs ever created by the United States Mint, the 50 State Quarters program. Beginning in 1999, the Mint launched an ambitious idea. Every year, several U.S. states would receive their own special quarter design. Each coin would celebrate the culture, heritage, and identity of a different state. Over 10 years, the program released 50 unique coins, turning ordinary pocket change into a nationwide collecting phenomenon. By 2003, the program had already captured the attention of millions of Americans. Families searched their change jars. Kids started their first coin collections. Collectors carefully examined every new quarter that entered circulation. And that year, the state of Alabama received its own special design, one unlike any other in the entire series. The reverse side of the Alabama quarter features the inspiring figure of Helen Keller, one of the most remarkable individuals in American history. Born in Alabama in the late 19th century, Keller lost both her sight and hearing as a young child. Yet despite those immense challenges, she went on to become a world-famous author, lecturer, and advocate for people with disabilities. Her life became a symbol of determination, resilience, and the power of human potential. On the coin, Helen Keller is shown seated with a book in her hands, representing her lifelong dedication to learning and communication. Surrounding her image are branches of longleaf pine, the official state tree of Alabama. Beneath her name appears a remarkable detail rarely seen on American coins, her name written in Braille. This small but powerful feature makes the Alabama quarter historically unique, as it was the first circulating U.S. coin to include Braille lettering. The 2003 Alabama quarter with the P Mint mark was struck at the historic Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest minting facilities in the United States. Inside massive production halls, powerful coin presses struck thousands of quarters every minute. Each blank piece of metal was stamped with incredible force, imprinting the designs that collectors and everyday Americans would later recognize instantly. Like most modern quarters, the coin was made using a copper-nickel-clad composition. Beneath its silver-colored outer layers lies a solid copper core, sandwiched between two thin layers of copper and nickel alloy. This design allows the coin to remain strong and durable even after years of circulation. That is why many Alabama quarters you find today may appear dirty, scratched, or worn, signs of the many journeys they have taken through everyday life. At the time these coins were released, they quickly became one of the most talked about state quarters. The presence of Braille on the coin sparked curiosity and admiration across the country. Teachers used the coin to discuss history and accessibility. Collectors searched for pristine examples to add to their albums. And millions of people held the coin in their hands without realizing they were touching a small tribute to one of America's most inspiring figures. Years passed, and most of these coins blended quietly into everyday circulation. They paid for groceries, laundry machines, bus rides, and parking meters. Many were forgotten in jars or drawers. But coin collectors often look at such coins differently. They examine every design detail, every tiny letter, every unusual mark left during the minting process. Sometimes a small difference, a striking error, or an unusual feature can turn an ordinary coin into something far more interesting in the world of collecting. Because of this, coins like the 2003 Alabama State Quarter still attract attention today. Not necessarily because every coin is rare, but because each one carries a remarkable design, a unique place in American coinage history, and a connection to the life story of Helen Keller. That combination of art, history, and symbolism keeps collectors curious. Imagine how many places a single Alabama quarter may have traveled since 2003. It may have crossed multiple states, passed through countless hands, and rested for years in a forgotten coin jar. Every scratch on its surface is a reminder of that journey. Each worn detail tells a silent story of time, movement, and everyday life. That is what makes coins so fascinating. They are not just money. They are small metal witnesses to history. They carry the images, symbols, and stories that define moments in a nation's past. And sometimes, hidden among the most ordinary pocket change, there are coins that hold stories powerful enough to capture the imagination of collectors around the world. So the next time you see a quarter with Helen Keller sitting quietly on its surface, take a closer look. It may seem like just another coin. But behind that small piece of metal is a tribute to courage, history, and one of the most inspiring lives ever honored on American currency. A small silver-colored coin rests quietly in someone's hand. Just a quarter. 25 cents. Most people would glance at it for a second, and then spend it without a thought. But sometimes a simple coin hides a deeper story. A story of exploration, discovery, and American history traveling silently through time. And that story lives inside the 2003 Missouri State Quarter. Millions of these coins were released into circulation in the early 2000s. They moved quickly through stores, banks, vending machines, and pockets across the country. Over the years, many became scratched, faded, and heavily worn. Yet even when the surface looks dull and ordinary, the coin still carries the powerful imagery and meaning placed there the day it was struck. The coin was created during one of the most exciting coin programs ever launched by the United States Mint, the famous 50-state quarters program. Beginning in 1999, this program transformed everyday pocket change into a national treasure hunt. Each year, several states were honored with their own unique quarter design. People across the United States suddenly began searching their change, collecting coins, and discovering the stories hidden behind each design. In 2003, the state of Missouri received its moment in the spotlight. The designers of the coin chose an image that represented one of the most important journeys in American exploration. On the reverse side appears the famous Corps of Discovery, the expedition that traveled west across the unknown American frontier in the early 19th century. At the center of the design is a keelboat gliding across the powerful waters of the Missouri River. Inside the boat are members of the historic expedition led by two legendary explorers, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark. Their journey, known as the Lewis and Clark Expedition, was one of the most daring explorations in American history. In the early 1800s, the United States was still a young nation. Vast lands stretched westward into territories that were largely unmapped by American explorers. President Thomas Jefferson believed it was important to understand this new land after the Louisiana Purchase. So he commissioned Lewis and Clark to lead an expedition westward across rivers, forests, mountains, and unknown landscapes. Their mission was not easy. The explorers traveled thousands of miles through wild terrain, facing unpredictable weather, powerful rivers, and unfamiliar lands. Yet their journey helped map the American West and opened the door for future exploration and settlement. The Missouri State Quarter honors that extraordinary adventure, capturing the moment when the explorers moved forward into the unknown waters of the Missouri River. The specific version of this coin with the D Mint mark was produced at the famous Denver Mint. Inside the massive minting facility, powerful presses strike coins with incredible force, stamping detailed designs into metal blanks at astonishing speed. Every minute, thousands of coins are created, each one beginning its own journey into the economy. Like most modern quarters, the Missouri State Quarter is made from a copper-nickel-clad composition. A solid copper core lies hidden inside, sandwiched between two outer layers of copper and nickel alloy. This layered structure gives the coin durability and the familiar silver color that most people recognize instantly. Even after years of heavy use, the coin usually remains strong despite scratches and worn details. Over time, coins like the 2003 D Missouri Quarter traveled everywhere. They passed from cashiers to customers, from banks to businesses, from wallets to coin jars. Some coins crossed entire states before finally resting in someone's collection or forgotten drawer. Each small scratch or mark on the surface represents a tiny moment in that long journey through everyday life. For coin collectors, this journey is part of the fascination. They look closely at every detail, the sharpness of the keelboat, the clarity of the lettering, the strength of the strike. Occasionally a coin may show unusual characteristics from the minting process. When collectors discover such details, their curiosity grows, and the coin becomes more interesting to study and preserve. But even beyond collecting, the Missouri State Quarter represents something deeper. It is a small reminder of exploration and courage. A tiny piece of metal carrying the memory of a time when the American frontier stretched far beyond the horizon and brave explorers pushed forward into lands no one had yet mapped. Imagine holding that coin and thinking about the journey it represents. From the roaring Missouri River 2 centuries ago, to the massive minting presses of Denver in 2003, to the pockets and wallets of millions of people today. That is the quiet magic of coins. They travel through time. They pass through countless hands. And sometimes, inside the most ordinary piece of pocket change, there lives a story of adventure that refuses to fade.